Coming to you from the Windy City. Welcome to Let's Talk Shop, a podcast about all things cloud and enterprise tech. Listen to insights and guest interviews with IT thought leaders and professionals. Now, here's your host, Elias Khnaser.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Let's Talk Shop. This week, it's special. We're at AWS reInvent in Las Vegas. And as you can see, AWS was gracious enough to give us access to the podcast room and an entire team to help us produce this podcast. So a huge thanks to AWS and a huge thanks to the team that's helping us put this together. We're going to have guests and commentary on what we've seen this week. This is recorded, so you're going to have commentary on pretty much everything we've seen so far. I'm going to have Sanjeev Mohan, who's going to comment on databases, AI, machine learning. Maribel Lopez, who's going to comment on edge use cases, also machine learning and AI. And we're going to have a special guest also from Veritas, Hasan, who is the Technical Global Alliance Manager, who's also going to give us his insights around what he's seen this week. At this point, I have a really special guest. She's been on the podcast before. She's an awesome analyst. It's my great pleasure to have Maribel Lopez. Maribel, awesome to have you back in person this time.
I know, isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
The joy of Las Vegas. Here we are.
You know, I was just thinking also, I never like to be in Las Vegas, but I was happy. When was the last reInvent? Was it last year? Did you come last year?
I didn't come last year.
I didn't come last year either. So have you been to other conferences?
Yes. But I'd really say that it felt like it just started to kick in the fall.
I agree.
So people started to come back and be back everywhere. So that's been nice to reconnect.
Packed. I mean, it is packed here this week.
It is chaos out there, but that's a good thing. That means people care about cloud, they care about AWS. It's all good.
So Adam's keynote just wrapped up.
Yep.
And the Twitter sphere kind of exploded a little bit. I think they're overly negative. Keynotes can never please everyone, but I didn't think it was as bad as I'm hearing it. What were your thoughts?
Hey, listen, I think the world is accustomed to keynotes that reinvent the world all the time. And I think where we are in this stage of cloud computing is we're not about reinventing the world per se, although there were some things that we might talk about later on that. We're really about doing things that people care about, innovations that matter. And a lot of what matters right now is making cloud simpler. And we heard a lot of that. We heard a lot about how do you make ETL simpler? How do you make sure that you can secure containers better? It was Spark, Redshift, lots of AI ML stuff, lots of talk about unlocking data. Everybody has data. Nobody says, oh, I don't have any data. Everybody says, I can't get any insight out of my data. So a lot of the things were very specific to those, whether you were trying to unlock value from data, whether or not you were trying to just simplify management, if you were trying to make things more secure. I think those are things people really care about.
I agree with you. I think the takeaway this week for me, I think the theme of the keynote was simplicity. We've arrived at a point in cloud where we need to make things a little easier. And to your point, I think from a networking perspective, also some of the announcements we've heard around Lattice and allow making it simpler for for those folks that are having thousands of VPCs. How do you create simplicity there? I think that's really helpful. I was a little disappointed that I was really hoping to hear something about multi-cloud. I keep feeling that's a miss on AWS's side. Do you agree?
You know what? I don't think AWS feels that they need to run the multi-cloud journey, right?
Yeah.
There are plenty of other folks flogging that, but the reality of the situation is the world is multi-cloud.
I agree.
And then the question is, do you have the tools to help your customers do whatever they want to do? Or are you going to let somebody overlay? VMware is making a big play for the multi-cloud overlay right now. That was pretty obvious from their last conference. I think that we saw Google lean in heavily to that with Anthos, where they really expanded what Anthos is. Everybody has their way of putting what they have onto your prem and trying to make that easier so it feels more hybrid to you per se than multi, because a lot of what people want is also hybrid feeling.
Yeah.
So those are things that I think, I don't expect AWS to lead the charge in multi-cloud.
I don't expect them to lead the charge per se. And to your point, Microsoft's also doing a bunch of stuff with multi-cloud, whether it's their partnership with Oracle or what they're doing with hybrid, with Arc and Azure Stack and a whole bunch of things. But I do think it's time for AWS to at least acknowledge it, to at least have something to say about multi-cloud. And the whispers that I'm hearing in the corridors of reInvent is that they are going to address it. But the keynote didn't address it. So that was that. If I had one negative thing to say about the keynote, it would be that. But let's say on the positive. So there was some fantastic customer stories in there. Which one was your favorite?
Yes. Well, I think I actually sent out a tweet, one of those people in the Twitter sphere that was talking about it. I love the use case from Lyle.
Oh, that was near and dear to my heart too.
I also really appreciated Siemens coming out
was cool.
and talking about how you unlock a lot of industrial data, which is something we've been talking about for at least a decade, if not more, about connecting data. But now it's like, well, what do you do with all that? How do you make that better? So we had Ferrari's always inspiring in its own way.
Of course.
So, we have lots of. There was just a lot to unpack from different aspects, and they have a lot of great customers across the whole field. We actually had some good breakouts in the analyst group. E2 for banking was great.
Yep.
They had, they talked a lot about how you actually do digital transformation in a large financial services organization. So there were just case studies to be had all around, which I think is where we are in cloud right now. Everybody's looking for what are the best practices. How do we actually make this work? Your point on multi-cloud is well taken, because we want to talk about simplification. Really, part of the issue with cloud right now is you have multiples of them, and it's very difficult
Complex.
to manage that stack. Right. Very difficult.
Yeah.
And what you find is people are sort of forking their stack, and they're picking workloads that run here and workloads that run there. And those workloads have failovers within their respective clouds, but they don't necessarily have to connect to each other. They're not connecting. So.
Yeah. I love that use case. I mean, it's very inspiring. But I want to talk about a use case that I know you like a lot. Tell me about edge in space.
Oh, man. Okay, in the category of edges everywhere. Edge is now in space.
It was an interesting use case, though.
I really wanted to say the final frontier. You had to get it in there. Right? Space, the final frontier with the computer. But no, in truth, I mean, okay, why would you even need it, right? I think that's the first question one has to ask. And what we're really trying to figure out, there's a lot of interesting scientific data that you would like to have a better handle on and see how it could help us change our world.
I agree, and it is a challenge. I mean, especially when you're taking these very high quality images, they're large in size, moving them, figuring out which ones to keep, which ones to discard. I think that's the use case. That's the success of this use case is they're able to put AWS software on satellites and basically assess the images or analyze the images, keep the ones they want that are relevant, send them back to Earth with a reduced size. Yeah, it sounds like we're in a movie of some sort. But I agree with you. I feel like it's a very niche type of application. So it's interesting.
But hey, listen, where are we now when you think of workloads? Right, so everybody has your normal garden variety workloads.
Sure.
But where it starts to get really interesting and where you really start to see some of the differences in the technology are in these very large scale workloads that people are trying to run massive AI ML models. People are trying to analyze or ship images. Like those are some of the things where you start to say, okay, I really need to have a strategy for that because that needs to be cost effective. You need to balance basically speed, performance, latency, security, cost, all those things need to be balanced. And what kind of technologies are we going to leverage to do that? So when we think about something like space, it sounds like, okay, that's really not applicable to anybody.
But it is.
But it is because all that stuff rolls down.
That's right.
So the things that you learn in doing something like space are going to end up in
commercialized at some point,
any organization will be able to have access to at some point in time. It's just when and how much of that. So I think those types of projects are really important to take us to the next level.
I agree. One of the other, if we're going to keep it balanced here and, giving them a positive and a negative, one of the other things that, and I don't know how AWS solves this, but we are still talking about processors and speeds and feeds and hey, yet another instance for high performance compute or another instance for AI and ML. And while it's great, but he touted over 600 instances. Most of the customers I talk to they're just overwhelmed. They just want some kind of a simplification of the number of instances and choices that you have. It's like walking into a restaurant giving you a 20-page menu, right? It's like, pick. Well, I need 20 minutes to pick. So thoughts on that? Are you hearing the same thing?
Okay, so here's sort of the pro and con of that, right? On one hand, I always felt that AWS spent a lot of time talking to developers and to data scientists, and they were one of the original companies that did that for cloud computing, right? There is an audience that still wants to hear that. There's an audience that's like waiting with bated breath for Vernal to come out and announce something
4.0.
Yeah, something amazing that they didn't know they needed until he walked out onto stage, right? I have to lie, I'm not going to lie. The machine learning keynote was a little late last night, and there was a lot going on.
Yeah, I know.
Cold starts and the like. So there are a lot of choices, and I think you have to break it up with the audiences. So the highly technical audience is looking for some of this, and they're looking for new breakthroughs. I think where you struggle is if you are a senior IT executive or a CIO or a CISO with like, oh my God, there's just like many processor names out there. Like,
that's right.
How many of these do I need? Which do I need? I also felt that way about the security announcements, frankly, because everybody has security announcements. We always want to make security better, but the layering of products that we now have, it just hasn't gotten any simpler. So these are some things we struggle with. I think at the end of the day, one of the customers I spoke to described it best, where he's like, I just want to abstract that and have the right processing technology be matched to the right workload.
Which is a little bit of a nirvana too on the customer's side. It's fair to ask. It's fair for them to aspire for that.
True, yeah.
I think AWS can help. I agree with you about the layering, and I feel, and again, if we were to criticize just a little bit, I feel like it's of AWS's own just a bit of AWS's own doing. Like they come out with all of these different tools and capabilities, and there's constantly a new tool that can. There's like 5 or 6 different load balancers. There's 5 or different ways of doing VPCs and transit gateways and all of these things. So again, back to what we were saying earlier, I think it's high time for abstractions, for simplicity, for offering customers fewer choices, but maybe by industry. Hey, most of the folks in manufacturing usually take this, or in healthcare usually take this. Those types of things I think would really resonate with
Hey,
with
we're
customers.
in the grocery store cloud computing right now.
That's right.
It's like you walk in, there are 18 million sodas, right? Or
That's right.
sparkly waters, however, flavored water, right? I sort of feel like we're in that for cloud computing. We're in that for AI and ML, right? It's like each time we get a processor, it's not good enough for some type of math.
Right, so we do another one.
So we do another one, right? And we have like a plethora of highly specialized computing stacks. That's good news, bad news. I mean, the world is our oyster, but on the other hand, you got to figure that out. And there's this whole discussion of like, when is good enough good enough? There was a big discussion about that in Twitter today.
Yeah.
Because that came out as one of the big slides. So, I don't envy people that are needing to buy tech stacks for global organizations, because it's pretty complicated between that and the regulatory and compliance environment you've got to deal with. So, but the good news is we have choice. We continue to move forward. And
a lot of ingredients.
Here, right?
We need some more recipes, I think, from AWS. So speaking AI ML, any favorite announcements that you care to highlight?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm overwhelmed with the AI ML that came out today. I'm just going to be honest about this. Somebody said, "What are you doing today?" I'm like, I'm spending the rest of the day and probably the rest of
digesting
this week
it,
trying to figure out like how do I map all these things to the different workloads. The takeaway that I got is, hey, it wasn't just AI and ML. We had a lot of analytics tools that were, and they go together.
Sure.
But basically, there were a lot of different ways for you to approach it, and it's starting to get better for, everybody talks about like the citizen data scientist, which I think is an oxymoron. I'm not sure you can have a citizen data scientist. But if you're a person that is really interested in trying to solve a problem, we're getting closer to, there's many different ways for you to solve that.
I agree.
And that, at the end of the day, I think people are in a choose your own adventure around AI and ML right now. People are very specific about what they want to use, how they want to use it. And I also believe they were looking to companies like AWS, they were looking to Google Cloud, they're looking to like Azure. Microsoft Azure did some really great AI ML announcements. this is a space we're going to be talking about, Eli, for the next 10 years.
You think?
You and I are going to come back here and we're going to be like, and now the slide had 30 features on it instead. I looked at one of the slides, it was like 3 boxes, and I'm like, wow,
That's a lot of stuff, right?
what are you going to do? But on the other hand, it's like, hey, there's something in there for probably almost
Everyone, yeah. So one of the other positive things I think that we heard this week was sustainability. I think they're focusing on it pretty seriously. I think the message resonated. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. Sustainability is one of those things that I think is easy to talk about, but difficult to do anything about.
I agree.
So on the enterprise IT leader side, we have a lot of companies that have signed up for big goals, huge goals, between now and 2030. But now they actually have to start monitoring and metricing them, and it's extremely difficult to do that when you start to unpack it. There isn't like one nice one-size-fits-all, like here's how we measure sustainability. The good news is that so many companies are using cloud, and your cloud purchases have to be part of the sustainability roll-up. So seeing companies like Amazon come back in and say, hey, here's how we're helping you save energy, here's how we're saving energy, here's how we want to be water positive, here's how we want to have 100% renewable energy by 2025. There was a lot of great stuff in there to unpack. I think organizations are going to be very happy because it's really going to contribute to their goals and the larger goal in general, which is the environment that we're looking at, right? So very positive progress that we're seeing.
Yeah, I think the message resonated. I think it's a global audience, so I think AWS had a really good role to play, and it was a really good message, so I was happy about that as well.
Yeah.
Maribel, I know you have to get to another appointment. Thank you so much for making time. It's always great chatting with you.
Great.
We'll probably do this again soon.
Hope so. All right. Same time, same place.
Same time, same place.
Another Las Vegas venue talking about some other technology that's being rolled out in Vegas.
Hey, this time it was in person.
True. I think it's going to be in person April through June.
I hope so.
Here we are. All right. Thanks, Eli.
Absolutely. Right on time, we are joined by Mo Hasan, Global Technical Alliance Manager at Veritas. Mo, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Eli.
Is this the first reInvent after the pandemic?
This is my second one. I was here last year too.
I missed last year. I can't tell you. I'm happy to be back in Vegas. I can't believe I'm actually saying that. I used to never say that, but I'm happy to be back in Vegas.
A lot of people are, yeah, exactly.
How's the show been so far?
So far, so good.
It's back. I mean, there's a lot of people here.
A lot of people, and that's the exciting part.
Yeah.
What I enjoy most here is just speaking with our customers, and this is the best opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
Partners and customers. Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys have been busy. I've been following Veritas. You guys have really been doing a ton of stuff in the cloud. You've been very relevant. You've been doing a lot of stuff on multi-cloud. Tell us, how is Veritas relevant in the cloud today?
All right.
And why are you different?
Absolutely. So in order for us to understand that, we have to give a little bit primer of what Veritas is, right?
Okay.
So Veritas has been around for 3 decades. We're 17 years leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrant. But the important thing is 95% of Fortune 100 companies and 87% of global Fortune 500 companies use and trust Veritas to protect their most important asset, which is their data. So we have a lot of conversations with those enterprises. And majority of them now have obviously some kind of cloud strategy, and a big number of them have a hybrid multi-cloud strategy.
Okay.
And in their environment,
Use the M word. I like that.
yes. And within those hybrid multi-cloud, they have some applications that are running on physical appliances or physical infrastructure, virtual infrastructure, and containerized infrastructure. And as you can imagine, that protection of application and data in this heterogeneous hybrid multi-cloud environment is very complex. So in my opinion, Veritas is far more relevant today than it was ever before, because what a lot of our customers need is one single unified platform where they can protect everything, regardless if the application is running on-prem or in one cloud, multi-cloud, or running on physical infrastructure, virtual or containerized, we protect everything. But most importantly, customer need visibility across all these environments from this single platform, single dashboard. And this is what Veritas provide them. And our customers just love that. It's a huge value for them.
You guys have also had some focus on ransomware protection as well, not lately, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And the good thing is that our platform has built-in ransomware protection into it. So you don't, our customer don't have to buy anything additional. It's part of the license for our unified platform. And the way we do that is a lot of folks out there are aware of the NIST framework,
Sure.
National Institute of Standard and Technology. So we follow the same framework to protect our customer from ransomware attacks. And we heavily focus on protect, detect, and recover. And we use our AI-based technology. We continue to monitor any anomalies, and then we can run malware scan. And this is where our partnership and integration with AWS comes into the picture, because we're leveraging immutable storage in AWS.
Okay.
We're leveraging air-gap storage in AWS, and we're leveraging our tight integration with private links. So this way, no matter where the data is coming from to AWS, it stays internal. Use internal IP addresses, never get exposed to external internet, so it reduces the attack surface. So our customer love our ransomware protection, especially in our joint solution with AWS.
And this is all on a SaaS platform, right? So is Veritas still shipping these individual products, or is it consolidated on SaaS?
It's now a platform.
Okay.
And the thing is, like I mentioned, we have a lot of customers. Globally, we have more than 80,000 customers. And all of them have different strategies. So our platform is very flexible. So if somebody need our platform in a physical appliance, that is available too. If they need it as a virtual appliance, that is available too. But a lot of customers now are looking into our platform, which is now available in a cloud-native, containerized microservices architecture. And that is available in the cloud as well. So a lot of our customers are really interested in that too. So very flexible platform.
So is the alliance that you have with AWS focused on the usage of the infrastructure? Is there anything more that you could tell us maybe about what you guys are doing?
We're actually just focused on leading our customer and guiding them in their journey to cloud. So some of them are in the beginning phases, right? I mean, so we're helping them migrate to the cloud, because sometimes it gets very it's very complex, especially if you have multi-tier application like SAP and Oracle. Migrating to them from on-prem to cloud is very challenging. So we bring simplicity into that. So we help them migrate that, and once they have been migrated to the cloud, we help them protect and give them all the those enterprise level features that we have been giving them on-prem. But now we give them using our cloud-based technology. So that's why we're so relevant today than we were ever before. That no matter where our customers are deploying their applications, Veritas is there to provide their services
At all layers, right? IaaS, PaaS, SaaS.
Exactly, everything's covered. Yeah.
Very nice. Mal, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Sanjeev, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So how's it been so far?
Absolutely astounding.
It's back, right? Reinvent's back.
It's back. What blows me away is bigger than pre-pandemic.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, 50,000 maskless people running amok. That's how AWS reInvent is this year. So I love the energy. I love the networking, the sessions, the learning opportunities. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been good. The keynote just wrapped up.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts? The Twitter sphere is exploding. There's a lot of, there's some negativity about the keynote. Some people liked it, some people didn't. What do you think?
So Eli, this is how I look at it. Remember those days when we would go to Gartner Catalyst and we would go present?
Right.
And we would get half the room on this side gave us 5. Amazing. The other half gave us a 2 and said, it's too high level or too
low level. Yeah.
Too low level. So you can never
can't please everyone.
You cannot please anyone. Yeah. So I think I'm not the right person to espouse because I'm a detailed guy. We're both Gartner for technical professionals.
Ex-Gartner for technical professionals.
Yeah. So I want to know how to. So a keynote is not the place to do it.
That's
so
right.
For me, it was too high level.
Okay.
And I also have a little bit of an aversion to when I watch a slide that shows up with 1 and a bazillion zeros, and somebody says that, did you know exabytes of data is being created, and if you stack $1 bills to the sun, it's like, I can relate to that. I don't care about exabytes of data. I have my own problems, so my point is that I don't think AWS needs to tell the world about vastness of data. We expect that from Amazon. The name of Amazon
is already
the scope of Amazon. Everything talks about the vastness, and I felt we spent 15 minutes talking about that. Then we went into we're looking at the stars for the answers. That was a line. We're looking at the deep ocean. We're looking at Antarctica, and I'm like,
oh,
wow.
the stories were again. It's a keynote, so
it's a keynote.
Yes, but the customer stories were cool. So
yes,
out of the customer story, which ones resonated with you? Which one did you like?
The cancer one was just,
Lyell, yes, that one was phenomenal.
Phenomenal use case. I like NG.
Yes.
What they presented, sustainability. I think there's so much.
They brought up sustainability. I thought that was really interesting. That it's front and center now. They're doing a lot there, so that was really cool.
Yeah.
But let's go to your area of expertise, so data analytics.
Yes.
Where do you think they're at? What are they doing right? What's missing? What did you like this year?
So I really liked that finally AWS has announced a data catalog and the whole data governance. I think I must have mentioned it to AWS at least a few hundred times over 5-6 years. Why don't we have data governance? We've got AWS Glue, which started on that journey many years ago, but then now they do. So I really like the fact that there is a native data catalog and governance suite now within AWS.
So do you agree? So Maribel and I were talking a little bit ago about, we feel like there's a theme in this conference around simplifying things. So over the years, a lot of layers have been built across the board, whether it's data analytics, whether it's networking, compute, you pick, right? A lot of layers. It felt like this year AWS was focusing on abstraction layers, simplifying things. Would you agree?
100%. So what AWS has done over the years is that every time we came to reInvent, there was a deluge of new services. This year, what they're saying is that I think we built the services, let's integrate them. So in my space, ETL, zero ETL was announced, which brings Aurora and Redshift much closer together. So that is an example of this whole focus on let's integrate and improve the usability of our tools rather than go create another database. In fact, we were joking with some AWS executives, what, no new databases here? Really? Okay,
they gave you more instances instead.
Yes, that is more instance types, yes. Yeah. Now we've got HPC instances and Graviton 3. So which is also something I don't usually get into the infrastructure side like you do. But this year I'm like really understanding the importance. We've spoken to the head of data analytics at AWS and how RDS now can leverage Graviton 3. And I know some of the companies I work with, like third-party, like database vendor, they are also very heavily leveraging Graviton 3.
So what is the advantage of using RDS with Graviton? Is it a matter of performance boost? Is it lower power consumption, so the sustainability? Yeah. What's your thought there?
It's cost performance.
It's cost performance?
Yeah. You can do like 60% more efficiency at the cost of what you're paying now. So you get 60% boost, but you're not paying for that. So that's what people like.
Do you feel like, based on the customers you talk to, both vendors and enterprise customers, more and more are going to gravitate towards Graviton 3 or 4?
I hope not.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because this is the dichotomy of cloud. You ask a data person, what do you think of Graviton 3?
You don't care, right?
I don't care.
Right.
It's like, I want my jobs to be done. I don't care if it's Graviton 3, 4.
That's fair. That's fair. And this is some of the messages that we've given back to AWS as well. Is look, the instances are great. We understand that you want to create tools.
Yeah.
You continuously want to give developers and builders and others more stuff.
Yeah.
But at some point, there's got to be simplifications. There's too many ingredients, not enough recipes.
Right.
To me, I don't really care if it's this processor or that. I just want it to run my workload the most optimal way. That being said, it's also not that easy to reach that type of level. But I do think AWS can do a little bit of a better job in this perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I was telling Maribel this as well. One of my disappointments a little bit this year was I was really hoping they would mention multi-cloud in the keynote. That didn't come up. What do you think?
Mention. Yeah, which is interesting. You've heard from vendors that when they have their booths, they cannot really talk about multi-cloud,
Yeah.
So,
but do you think AWS should address multi-cloud? They should have a position on it?
Yes, it's just reality. It's fact of life. I mean, if you look at other cloud providers, they have accepted that they will not be the only one, and they're actively doing something about it. AWS should do it. Absolutely, no question about it.
So what was missing this week? I mean, if we were to say, hey, Sanjeev, if you were to be organizing this, what was missing?
I have one thing that I personally felt that was missing, and that is financial governance, what we are calling FinOps now.
Okay.
I didn't see any mention of that. And I think up until last year, we were heavily indexed on cost optimization. But today, I see this huge emphasis on people saying, well, how do I manage my cost and control it? And I don't think I saw anything on FinOps. I'll give you an example. Actually, it's a very interesting example of what's happening. I work with a small company, no name, I don't want to mention names. This small company is really struggling with these current economic times. So they are looking to reduce their burn rate, which is the other funny thing, because till last year, it was all about growth at any cost, and now it's all about profitability and burn rate. So to reduce the burn rate, they went around to see what AWS instances they were not using, and they found plenty of them. So they shut them down, but it was all manual. I wish there were more tools. We learned about like compute optimizer.
Yeah, so there's Trusted Advisor, and then there's another tool is Compute Optimizer.
Compute Optimizer.
And one of the things that I would have loved to seen is why another tool? Why not just enhance Trusted Advisor and have that give you all of the recommendations and stuff that you need? So yeah.
So this client doesn't even know the Compute Optimizer exists. I only learned about it now. So I'm going to go back and tell them, go run that. But brute force, they found these instances and they shut them down. They're saving $900 a day.
Oh, well, that's savings.
Which equals to $27,000 a month.
You're going to start putting those zeros on that screen for me?
Yeah. No, I know. But $27,000 for a tiny company is not bad.
It's not bad.
So this is the level of cost optimization people are looking for. So I thought I would see some mention of that, but that's one thing that I found missing.
Yeah. Sanjeev, it's always great to chat with you.
Likewise.
You are going to have the rest of the week is packed, I assume, for you?
Yes, a lot of sessions, a lot of meetings with people, both AWS and other partners.
We should do maybe a reInvent recap after this podcast when we get back home. And we've had enough time to kind of digest all of the announcements and look into, again, what really has stood up. Because one of the other challenges here is there's so many announcements.
Right.
And some of them are cool. Some of them you just need a little time to understand where they fit in the overall grand scheme of things.
Also, right now we're talking about only the announcements that are publicly available. There are still more to come. Like, there's going to be a keynote by Swami on ML and AI, for instance. And so there's more stuff to come, but that we cannot talk about today.
Yeah. Sanjeev, always great to have. I'm happy that you're in person this time. So we finally are doing it in person.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we'll do more of these in person now.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right, folks, that's all the time that we have for this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, huge thanks to AWS for giving us this room and the team that helped us put this together. We'll see you on the next podcast.